So today I'd like to talk a bit about fear. Certainly, I think if you're creating a horror game, fear is essential and something very important to your game. But I think in the general case, it's worth looking at fear as a thing in my own life. So certainly, I'm not afraid of many things, like monsters or ghosts or things like that. Or in movies, I don't really get scared. Certainly, I like horror movies and I like getting creeped out, but I'm not like super afraid of them or anything. I went skydiving, whatever. But I am definitely afraid of things. I'm afraid that the Neverending Nightmares Kickstarter is going to fail. I'm afraid of failure in general, failure at whatever I set out to do. I'm afraid of being a bad person, a bad husband. Certainly I'm afraid of losing things, friends, family. I mean, not losing items, but I mean like losing connections, losing people both in terms of passing away, but also, drifting apart. And I think to some extent those are sort of ubiquitous fears, but they're not usually the types of fears expressed in horror games or horror movies. But certainly I don't want to spoil anything, but I think one of the things in Neverending Nightmares is I'm going to try and bring those elements in and make the game have fear on multiple levels. I mean, there's the startling images, the sort of jump scares, and then there's the scary ghosts, monsters, things like that. But then I think, there's sort of the fears that present themselves in everyone's life, and certainly with compulsive worrying and things, I have a lot of fears, but they're not the traditional horror kind, and so I'm trying to sort of merge those two concepts, and certainly I think some interesting ideas on how to do that. But I thought it'd be fun. I have some really good quotes from Hitchcock, who has actually a lot of good quotes, and certainly is the master of suspense. So, sorry, I don't have them memorized. So, one of them, he says, the only way to get rid of my fears is to make films about them, which certainly is interesting, and to some extent, like, I've found relief in terms of making a game that has to do with these themes in my life with obsessive compulsive disorder and depression, and putting these intrusive thoughts, these violent images into the game. That has really, I think, helped me to some extent. It feels like a weight off my shoulders, which I'm not entirely certain why, but it seems like Hitchcock had the same feeling. So let me read the other one here. I am scared easily. Here's a list of my adrenaline production. 1. Small children. 2. Policemen. 3. High places. 4. That my next movie will not be as good as the last one. So certainly that's a big fear, and I think, I'm afraid of making a horror game, not because of the content, but because it's something I've never done before. It's new for me, and I'm afraid that I won't be able to pull it off. And I think, I feel much better about it now that we've done the teaser and the demo. I feel like I'm bringing some unique things to the table, and I can see how the pieces will fit together. But certainly was a big fear for me, in the first 6 months of development, and maybe even longer. But I mean, and it's still a bit of a fear, but I'm feeling a bit better about that. Certainly, the demo, we showed a joystick, and they had very positive feedback, even though it's a worse demo than the Kickstarter one. It was pretty rough.